Nigerian pilot, screaming headline, stop tax waivers. Senate tells FG, says Nigeria loses huge revenue to tax waivers, incentives, and finance ministers. Ministers told senators that Nigeria lost 3 trillion naira to tax waivers in 2023.
Let's check the Daily Asset. 11 Supreme Court justices face National Assembly after NJC appointment. Attack on members of Kogi Guba Election Petitions Tribunal relocates to Abuja.
And the Daily Independent, the headline there, Northern groups finger lack of coordination by the military. That's talking about the Army Kaduna airstrike on civilians. And if you go lower down, you see expatriates steal jobs meant for Nigerians, NAS alleges.
Okay, the leadership is leading with the Supreme Court Justices matter, says Samani, Sankey, Ada, and 8 others passed screening. Justice Musu Iheme picked from a reserve list. NJC appoints 1 Court of Appeal justice, 6 heads of court, and 26 others. You may want to pick up the paper and read up the details. Let's go above the masthead. Muslim leaders want Kaduna bombing victims compensated.
And the Nigerian Express says, still talking about the Kaduna bombing, Defense Minister must go. Citizens demand. Storm National Assembly in protest. And just below that, you see the Forbes ranking of Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala as the most powerful woman in Africa.
That's good as Nigeria.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Okay, so the Daily Sun now. Supreme Court Justices NJC okays Samani, Sankey, Musu Iheme, 8 others. Also approves Appeal Court Justice, 6 heads of judiciary, 26 others as judicial officers. You have that on page 6 of the Daily Sun. Naira scarcity worsens, banks ration withdrawal, ATM runs dry, and you want to find out why. So let's bring in our reviewer now and see how we can weigh in on some of the stories. Asking, should we begin with the Nigerian pilot? Stop tax waivers. Maybe we should look at that really, because there are reasons why the finance minister is saying this. He told the senators that Nigeria lost 3 trillion naira to tax waivers this year alone.
Well, it's quite unfortunate that the country has lost so much when it comes to the issue of tax waivers. To me, that is just what they call corporate favoritism. People behind big companies, corporate organizations, always, genuflect before those in the corridors of power. Is a public secret that even when there is election into the leadership of the National Assembly, into the presidency, governorship, these faces behind corporate organization also try to even sponsor and assist with financial assistance. At the end of the day, what they expect to get is this so-called waivers. Now, when you look at waiver, why is simply saying that the tax you are supposed to pay to government, government simply waive it off. We know so many big organizations that have enjoyed that. And if you can look at the last 10 years, it runs into trillions and trillions of naira. This year, 3 trillion naira was lost to tax waivers. Now, when you go to develop economies, it is these taxes that you collect from this corporate organization that you spread around for the low income to try to get a living, to try to do certain things for government in terms of social activities. But when you now waive it from this corporate organization, what you are simply doing is you are stealing from the poor to empower those corporate organizations. And it is something that is very, very annoying, something that is very, very sad. Government is not all about profit. Government is all about trying to redistribute incomes, trying to ensure that the people that are up there, you get much from them, and redistribute it for those that cannot reach out. So when you have a situation where big companies enjoy tax waiver, what you are simply doing is that you are stealing from the poor. You are just making the government not work. You are making the country for the rich. You are encouraging corruption. It's a kind of a subtle form of corruption. And that is why these people that have all these big companies, what they try to do is to support anybody that is going for either governorship or presidency. And when they support you, the whole idea is that, hey, when you get into power, make sure you grant me tax waiver. So it is an unjust system. And for the National Assembly to come up and say they are against it, I think it is something that is very commendable. But the National Assembly should go a step further. Is it just for them to just come up and condemn it and keep quiet? We've had all this. This tax waiver has been on for over 20-something years. Nothing has happened. So my worry is that it's not just enough for them to say that the country lost 3 trillion to tax waiver. What are they doing? Will there be a law to ensure that corporate organizations actually pay their taxes? So there should be a law.
But it's the government that grants waivers, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And are there justification for waivers in the first place in any form at all?
Usually government will justify it. Like he said, there will be some justification. But the question really is, what have these companies done in terms of corporate social responsibility to give back to the same society that you have said government is allowing them to rob of revenue?
Well, the unfortunate is that those companies that are even granted tax waivers is the person who knows someone in the presidency or knows somebody somewhere try to get these tax waivers. There are no clear, defined rules on how you get these tax waivers. Whether we like it or not, there are some companies that year in, year out, they benefit from these tax waivers. You find out what are the conditions. You see, the rules are not stated. So what the government should do now, or what the National Assembly should do now, because in a democracy, the survival of Nigerian democracy depends on the National Assembly, because it is the true representative of the people. When they rise up and defend democracy, that is when you get to know the real people behind democracy. The executive, all they try to do is simply to ensure that they get into power. And once they get into power, all they are interested in is to flounce their powers, their executive powers. So if the National Assembly should now come out with rules, hey, we are stopping tax waivers. We don't want it anymore. And let it stop, because it is stealing from the poor. You are making the country not to progress. You are denying the country the revenue they ought to have to run the country. Now, if we lost 3 trillion to simply tax waiver this year alone, can you just imagine what 3 trillion naira will do to the nation's economy? How it can go to redistribute wealth, how it can build hospitals, how it can build schools? But you simply give it out to some people. And you are not giving it out to them because of anything. No, it's favoritism. It's pure favoritism. There are no conditions attached to it. Because you need to know somebody in the presidency for you to get these tax waivers. So there is need for the National Assembly to stand up and outlaw the issue of tax waiver.
Okay, so let's assume this is a step in the right direction and they would walk the talk at the end of the day. Let's move on to other stories as we saw on the papers this morning. NJC recommends appointment of 11 Supreme Court justices is one of the stories we see there. And then you also on the court matters, a court compels Assembly Speaker to appoint medical panel on governor's health. I guess this is about
Ondo State.
Ondo State. So let's look into if you can match these two stories.
Well, let's talk about this Ondo State story. You know, during the time I think Yaradua was ill, then Akeredolu said no, the man should come out and resign because he's not competent to continue in office. You know, what goes around comes around. But this time around, he's incapacitated. The truth of the matter is that the Ondo State government is incapacitated. So why is it that at this point in time, the State Assembly is not doing what it ought to do? That brings me to the idea is that most of state houses of assembly are extension of the living rooms of governors. This issue of interdependence, this issue of check and balances is not observed. And that is the danger in our democracy. Because under democracy, you have the executive, you have the legislature, and you have the judiciary. And these people have clearly spelled out functions. Now, when you don't allow them to work, that's a problem. And because in Nigeria we enthrone money, the worship of mammon. So you find these two arms of government, both the judiciary and the legislature, going cap in hand to beg the executive. And in doing that, they cannot exercise their function. So the truth of the matter is that as far as democracy is concerned, Ondo State, Akeredolu for now should have simply stepped aside and allowed the governor to continue.
The deputy governor.
The deputy governor to continue. But the truth of the matter is that there are so many dynamics. We understand that even at the state level, there are some officials that are powerful than the deputy governors. We've heard and we've seen deputy governors going to commissioner to beg for money to survive. We've seen governors stifle their deputies. And that is what is happening in Ondo State. That should not be. If you put up the constitution, allow the constitution to work out. But of course, where money is involved, where power is involved, things are very, very different. So for me, what is happening in Ondo is a very clear issue. There is no reason why Akeredolu should be answering as the governor of that state. You should have an active governor. Let him go and face his health challenges. Let us pray that he will overcome it. Now, when you come to the Supreme Court justices, it's just a ritual. There's nothing there. There's just nothing there. It's about competence, yes. People get there, yes. But at the end of the day, do we need just a Supreme Court that will be operating in Abuja alone? Mind you, if somebody steals my goat, I'm not comfortable with what is happening at the magistrate, I'll go up to the state high court, I'll go to appeal, and I'll go to Supreme Court. So why not have this geopolitical Supreme Court where they will also sit and answer to some cases?
But hold on a minute. Isn't that even one of the reasons why the Supreme Court is overly burdened? You have stacks and stacks of cases that get to the Supreme Court that shouldn't really get there. You used the example of somebody stealing your goat.
Yes.
Hypothetically now.
Yes, hypothetically.
But if somebody steals my goat, why should I have to go up to the Supreme Court to get justice? Shouldn't that be terminated at some point and the Supreme Court allowed to handle the really, really big issues that determine that improve the jurisprudence of Nigeria?
I think the Supreme Court should have to be like a policy court, like something big that should come before it. But again, in this country, we've not been able to have reforms or some policies that will stop certain cases to terminate at a certain stage in the judicial process. So there is a need for government to do that. It could be either
I think there's a cap on
there should be a cap
on the kinds of cases that should get to the
Supreme Court.
Yes.
It should be policy, anything that has to do with interpreting certain aspects of our law.
Of the Constitution and the laws.
It's not everything that you take up to the Supreme Court. But I think beyond that, for us to just simply have a Supreme Court in Abuja and for them to listen to all the cases from the 36 states, including Abuja, no, you are just simply overboarding them. So I want to see a situation in which you have Supreme Court justices at the various geopolitical zones listening to cases and determining them. But again, I advocate for certain cases to be terminated at a certain level in the judicial process. That should be the right thing. But for now, if anybody goes there, nothing will change.
I think that's what the CJN was also talking about when he said that some of these cases should have alternative means of resolving them.
Yeah.
You know, is it even every matter that necessarily must come to court? There are alternative means of, you know, dispute resolution that we have as well.
You know, the issue of this court, when you look at it, somebody who has money will tell you, for you to go to court, you have to hire a lawyer. Somebody crying against injustice goes to court. He wins. Somebody who has money says, no, I don't agree. I take it up. It lingers and, you know, stretches up to the Supreme Court. At the end of the day, judgment is given to somebody who is even in the grave. That is it. Because, you see, dispensation of justice has to do with timing, appropriate timing. When you deny someone of justice within a space of time, then that is injustice. There are some of these laws. Okay, take the example of Hope, Uzodema, the PDP, taking him to court. The man has almost finished his first time. He has over won. Then you are saying, I mean, doesn't make sense? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't. So we need to sit down and tie the justice system to timing. Once you don't have that time element to it, you don't get it right.
Okay, before you leave the court matter, let me quickly, since you mentioned time element,
yes,
that quickly brought into my consciousness the issue of the Kogi Guba Election Petition Tribunal that has relocated to Abuja because of the attack on the members. What's your take on that? Because of late, members of the judiciary, in fact, the judiciary as a whole, has faced quite a lot of public, how do I put it now, a lot of attack from members of the public. We've seen banners all over the place, billboards, all eyes on judiciary and all of that. So what's your take on that?
Well, to state the facts, the judiciary is part of our problem. It's part of the Nigerian problem. Because one, if you have a justice system that is out to ensure justice for everyone, you won't find all these protests, all this shouting that is going on in town. But the judicial system is a part of the corrupt Nigerian system. That is not to say that we don't have men and women who yearn for justice, walking in the altar of justice. No, we have them, but they are very few. Very, very few. Now, the tribunal relocating to Abuja will be seen attacked in Kogi and a lot of things. What happened in Kogi? Before the election, I said, I have not seen anybody that will come and upstage Yahya Bello because he's in charge. He's in charge because once you are in charge, you are in charge. Let's say the facts. Corruption did not start now in the judicial system. No, it started a long time ago. Now, when some rogue elements in the judicial system go to collect money to obtain justice, that is where our problem started. And then when you have INEC not doing their job, not declaring winners of election, they simply go after who can pay the money, and they do the wrong thing. Then the justice system say, no, we too also have our own part of the share. There is a problem. So what I'm trying to say is that where you have corruption, corruption kills a nation. It kills the individual. When you have so much money that's supposed to be taken for development, somebody corner it somewhere, there's a problem. And you have to understand, the Nigerian psyche is all about money acquisition. They want to have money, money, and money, even when they don't need that money. How much do you need to live for 100 years? But we've seen people stealing billions of naira. You now ask yourself, is this man not mentally retarded?
To keep for generations unborn, maybe.
See, let me tell you. You see, in the US, every generation come up and do its job and allow the incoming generation to do it. Now, we have a mindset that is defective. We have a lot of things we do in this country that you look at, it's laughable. You are spending 15 billion naira on the resident of a vice president. You don't need that. 15 billion. Why do you need that for? The 10 Downing Street was built 330-something years ago. It's still there. They are still working. But we have a defective mindset in this country. And that is why there is need for us to reset our brain. We need to recalibrate our brain. You build a big house today. Your child is coming in 50 years' time. Say, no, this house is a very... No, I don't need it. I just need a very small house. See, the problem of this nation is systemic.
And then the bigger the house, the costlier the maintenance, and that's where the issue lies.
Yes.
Then you go around and you see buildings that, probably the owners at the end of the day are not able to maintain by the time they are
Thank you so much. I just visited one town. I saw a very big house, very sprawling house. I said, who has this house? They said, no, it was one big man in the village. I said, where is he now? They said, the man is dead. I walked to the tomb, looked at it. I said, who is now maintaining? They said, no, the children that he has even left behind cannot take care of the house. What do you need that for?
So instead of developing the human capital of your children,
yes,
to be able to manage your resources when you are gone, that didn't happen.
Simple, it never happened. So that is the defective mindset that we have in this country. See, there is nothing wrong with the Nigerian system. The only thing wrong in the Nigerian system is leadership and mindset. And when you have a leadership that should lead the people correctly to real values, honestly, within 6 months, you turn around this country. But the fact of the matter is that we have leaders that are not committed to development. We have leaders that are simply committed to enjoying on behalf of all of us.
I like that. Enjoying on behalf of all of us. Okay, let's go to the Daily Sun, where there's a very, very interesting headline. Although it's not the main headline there, but it says, Naira scarcity worsens. Banks ration withdrawal, ATMs run dry. POS operators hike charges. And that's a very critical issue because I think it takes us right back to earlier this year in January.
The Daily Sun, I think that's
the Daily Sun, not Daily Asset. The Daily Sun.
Daily Sun, yes.
It's on the Daily Sun. Yes, that's it. Naira scarcity worsens, banks ration withdrawal, ATMs run dry, POS operators hike charges.
And I saw one big man, angry yesterday and was shouting, how can I give bank money to keep for me? And I come, they tell me there's no money to collect. Me.
Well, I have some friends in the bank, and I asked them, I said, come, do you think, I asked him around, I asked one of them sometime about 2-3 months ago, this issue of old money, new money, do you think say nothing will change?
Is that what is affecting the scarcity? Is it about new and old money?
No, it's not about all certain things. You see, Nigeria is a bottomless hole of incomprehensibility.
Say that again.
It's a bottomless hole of incomprehensibility.
That's why I wanted him to say it again.
That's a quote.
No,
for that.
I'm telling you, you don't understand how this country is run. Because, why should you be having issue of, you take your money to the bank, you can't even get it. I went to the bank the other day, I saw one, was a German, was asking for dollars. He said, no, they can't give dollars. He said, why? It's my money, it's my money. He almost caused a problem. You have your money in the bank, and you go to get the money, and they tell you, no, they can't give it to you. This is so much they can give to you.
And you're not expected to keep money at home.
You are not supposed to keep money at the bank. Yes.
And then you need it to run an emergency.
Forget about those people. The big people keep money at home. All this money, all this new Naira, they take it to them and they keep it. See, the issue is that, as Chenua Achebe would say, the problem of the Nigerian nation is nothing but leadership.
So we're still back to George Orwell's Animal Farm. All animals are equal.
Of course.
Some are more equal than others.
No, but I'm still bothered about why the scarcity, really. We had this scarcity
now,
when
why
policy, the redesigned policy of the CBN came on board last year, right, just before the elections. So, and we know that the cap that was given by the Supreme Court for, that change to happen this December has been lifted as well. So why the scarcity, really? Is it the old note or the new note that is scarce, or just about everything?
I think it's not about... you see, I have told you something.
There is a bottomless...
Incomprehensibility.
You can't comprehend.
You can't even comprehend certain things. wherever how you try to do it. Okay, let me tell you, when you look at these new notes, in terms of quality, can you compare it with the old one that we had? If you had that 1,000 note in your pocket and the rain hit you, the color of the model is just stain your clothes. We go for something low. Do you know why? When you quote for the highest quality, you know what happens? They go for the lowest.
Okay,
they don't give a damn.
We're wrapping up.